Impact from those events, we have potential risk of heading into FOMC on Wednesday, right? I think that's the main driver going into this week. If there's going to be a low early on in the week and relief, I expect it to be somewhere tomorrow or early on Wednesday. And then depending on the outcome of FOMC, we might see further continuation downwards or the actual low being put in. But without jumping to conclusion too quick, right? Yes, we can merge a 10-week composite 100%. And let's dive in, right? Great question. So first things first, TPO. And we're starting with a regular chart. So for those of you who are new to the channel, this is a daily chart. This is a weekly chart right there. And then we've got a monthly time frame. And then this is a daily chart as well. However, within this chart, I add all of the days together as in a composite. Right click, merge right there to give a 10-day, right? So to keep it simple, within this screen, right now, I agree, it looks horrendous, right? It looks really extremely difficult, but in fact, it's not. One of the things that I tend to do when I'm looking at TPO is that I want to be able to merge composites. One of the rules for me in terms of when do I actually add or merge an existing day within the previous day is whenever there is at least a 50% value overlap. So let's say this profile here, right? This is one daily TPO. If the next day opens up, forms value, we go up, we go down, and then the value area high looks like that, value area low looks like that. Can we all agree that this value area is overlapping with the previous day for at least 50%, all right? If that's the case, add it within the existing composite, and we continue doing that. So let's do that together. Let's make sure that we have this on the bigger screen, like that. Let's zoom in a bit more, right here. So right here, we've got all of the single daily profiles. This day overlaps with that day, right click, merge with next profile. This is a 2-day composite, right click, because we've got another day with value overlap, right? And we continue doing that for as long as we have value overlap with all of these days, right? Look, value overlap with the previous days, value overlap, and we just continue to do that. And that will give us a really clean looking composite. And that is why I posted yesterday, or did I post it on Twitter? I don't really think so. Maybe only in Discord, not sure. So that is how we came to the conclusion today. And that's what I tweeted about, is everybody getting extremely euphoric, right? Lows are in, or we're all going to be making it. However, the most recent shift in condition, this is where we opened up the day, right? Then we auctioned lower. A genuine shift below what? Below a 10-day composite. Now, what do I always tell you guys? I always tell you guys, if Bitcoin forms a 5-day and up composite, that first initial breakaway from value is just not something that you want to be fading. Sure, there might be a pullback, but it's one that you want to be selling, right? So we auction away. Buyers are stepping in here. We formed a poor low there. So there's definitely a reason to go lower again. And then we saw, we saw it auction higher. Where does it get capped? Exactly at the 10-day composite value low, right? So beautiful shorting opportunity for that rotation lower. And who knows how low we're going to be going. But this is what I want to be aware of in terms of TPO. We are finding acceptance below the 10-day composite value area low. This value area low is confluent with previous month value area high. I will show you guys that in a bit. But this is our bearish line in the sand going forward. No acceptance above means Bitcoin goes lower. Okay. What composite did you mark out from 98 to 69 on the TPO? That was this composite right here. Right here. These 2 days, do you guys see that? We do have some slight value overlap there with each other. I've added them together, and that gives us the 2-day composite value area high, which was indeed the level of confluence that I wanted to see for a potential long setup. Moving back. So right here, prep, market profile, acceptance below, 10-day composite value area low. What else do we have? Now we've got a bunch to cover today, so bear with me. We have a poor low intraday here. All right, that's important. And we also have a weekly naked value area low there, right? And we're kind of struggling here because this is that 8-week composite value area high that is confluent with the 10-day composite value low that up here, right? And then we've got another bunch of levels in the form of a previous quarterly value. We'll show you that in a bit. But right here, we are failing to hold back above that 8-week composite. So if Bitcoin is genuinely not able to reclaim this ASAP during the overnight session, for example, this evening, then we need to be assuming another leg lower towards the point of control of this composite, confluent with a naked value area low from 1-2 weeks ago, is on the cards, which is around roughly 97K, right? So that's something that I want to be aware of as well. Right here, acceptance below the 10-day composite value low, unable to reclaim 8-week value area high, likely destination, 8-week point of control, confluent with weekly naked value area low. And that's basically it. The poor lows intraday as a potential destination, right? That's going to be a draw on liquidity. You might ask yourself, well, what's a poor low? If we're taking a look at this structure right here, do you guys see that the two TPO prints next to each other? That's a poor low. Like, that's a sign of an unfinished auction. There is not enough access below this low. What would have been better is if this leg right here, the left side, if that would have extended in single prints right there, right? And then close above. And then if that would have occurred, then we could have called this a buying tail. But so far, we're not seeing it, which is a sign of a lack of conviction, which means that we are just likely going to be rebalancing this poor low. If you get time and space under that weekly composite value high, would that be a short to consider? Yes, it would. Because do you see that 100K here, right? Do you see this 100K? Now let's take a look at the quarterly real quick, just to show you the relevance of that price point. The quarterly right here, 100K as well. So if the market isn't really able to reclaim this, I know a lot of people will probably be bullish here, because they are going to be like, well, you know, yada yada, price action, low, sweep low, bullish order block on the hourly chart or the daily chart. However, from a contextual standpoint, we are losing the previous quarterly value area high. What's one of the rules of market dynamics is that whenever we accept back within previous established value, in this case, previous quarterly value, we need to assume that we're going to be rebalancing it towards point of control and potentially even the value area low at 72K, right? So let's just not think about that yet. However, be aware that this is not a good development so far. We need to see strong closes back above previous quarterly value area high to maintain a bullish bias. If that's not the case, then we're pretty much screwed in, you know, the short term. Okay. So that's on TPO. Are there any questions so far in regards to what we have just covered on market profile? Whether that's going to be a basic question about daily profiles, composites, poor lows, poor highs, whatever. Now is the time to ask your question. I'll give it a minute and let me get a sip of my drink. Okay, so that's good. No questions? Awesome. Great job. Moving forward, because we have now defined that purely based on TPO, what can we base this off, right? Features has a question. Sometimes market don't give a retest after getting out of the composite. How do you know if it's a break or not? Well, usually like a genuine break below the composite, like you might think that right here, right? When we're trading below the 10-day composite value low. But look, we go all the way back upwards, and then this is the short trigger. High volume bar, point of control at the high, or maybe you have a different thesis on how you can get into trades. Maybe I'm pretty sure that price action traders here would be like, well, we've got a 30-minute bearish order block there. We've got a fair value gap right here between the low of this candle and the high of that candle. I'm putting a limit short there with my validation above the high, right? Because we're trading at a contextual level. So it doesn't really matter what your execution is. How I define acceptance below or above a composite, or back within a composite for that matter, is on a 30-minute time frame. And then I need to see this, right? I need to see time and space between the actual retest, and that confirms it to me that we're genuinely accepting back within a composite. Okay, moving forward, Bitcoin, VWAP. Here's where things get interesting. Based on the yearly, we are kind of forming a range in the middle of nowhere. we've got yearly support all the way down towards 80K. I think a lot of people are not going to be prepared for that. However, what I do want you guys to remember is that even if we were to trade all the way down towards 80K, like let's take a look at the previous interactions with previous year value, for example. I got one example that I always refer to, right? It's not extended here. It is not extended within this example, but I would just show you this. Right here, previous year value, right? So we do a whole lot in the middle of nowhere, and then we auction back into previous year value. We couldn't really break lower. However, a lot of people were expecting a lot more downside here, right? But we're just acting as support, and then we started the continuation higher. So if we take this into consideration and we compare it to where we are currently trading, I would argue that as long as we trade above 80K on a higher time frame basis, sure, short term, everything might go to shit, because if you start trading towards 80K, a lot of your favorite altcoins will go to absolutely zero, right? So keep in mind that if we do start trading here, I think it's going to be peak fear here. And a lot of people will call that it's absolutely over. But in my opinion, this is your best buying opportunity to get into spot plays on a discount on your favorite altcoins, on Bitcoin or whatever, right? Of course, a lot of levels need to be breaking before we start reaching 80K. But until then, right, just keep this in mind. 80K is yearly support. If we're moving towards an H12 chart, the quarterly, how many times do we have left? We've got 5 hours left. All right. So we've got 5 hours left for this candle to close above. In my opinion, if Bitcoin is not able to reclaim previous quarterly value area high, which is confluent, remember, with the 8-week composite value area high, it is really weak, especially after a rejection bar like that on the H12. That's basically an indication to me that, you know, hey, buyers are actually are weak, because they tried to lift the offer here. They tried to accept it back above previous quarterly value area high after we got a pretty nasty close back within quarterly value, and we couldn't really hold the support. Now we still have 5 hours left, so let's hope for the sake of our altcoins that we start closing above, right? Because at that point, I think it's good, and we can start to see, you know, expansion higher heading into FOMC, and we might see some de-risking again. But until then, it's not looking too good. If we take a look at the previous interactions, right? Couldn't hold above quarterly value high, we saw an auction lower. Couldn't hold above quarterly value high, auction lower. Failed break above previous quarterly value, retracement, right? If this is the same if this is the same story here, right, where we see a fake out above quarterly value, it's back towards this level, right, and potentially even lower. So the quarterly is not looking too good. Moving on towards the monthly value here. Keep an eye on this. This is your previous month value area high. This is your previous month VWAP, which is why we're, you know, buyers are stepping in earlier today. And then this is our previous month value area low. If I were to draw this as a distribution, we've got a value area high that looks like that, right? This is the distribution, similar to TPO. And then the VWAP here is point of control. This is a prime example of what I call time and space back within value. So we auction within previous month value. Neglect the developing value for a second right now, right? Those are the developing bands. Keep an eye on the previous value. We have time and space back within previously established value. What do we do, right? We spend some time, buyers are stepping in. Everybody gets extremely cocky right here, thinking, you know, oh, we're all going to be making it. You know, I mean, Twitter is such a good sentiment, such a good platform to be looking at what are other people expecting, and, you know, are we at this was peak fear, right? Again, peak euphoria. Everybody's thinking that, okay, we formed the low. The sailors, right? We are going back towards 106, etc., etc. Keep in mind that this previous month value area high that we've annotated here, if we go back towards TPO, and if we were to ask ourselves, what is the most recent shift in condition here? What's the most important development that has happened during the overnight session? It is that Bitcoin has failed to hold a 10-day composite value area low support. We are trading below, and it is confluent with the previous month value area high. So this is the picture perfect shorting opportunity for that rotation lower towards the poor lows here, okay? So if you take that back, the monthly, if I were to chart this on a weekly perspective, let's say that this was previous week value, I'd say we're unable to accept above previous week value high. Yes, we're seeing some buyers stepping in here to previous week VWAP. Actually, it's the month, right? But just for this example, I'm expecting a rotation lower, back towards 95 in this case. Because as long as we are not able to accept above 102, it is telling me that, hey, we try to accept above the 10-day composite. We failed to do that. We try to accept above previous quarterly value. We are failing to do that, right? And now on the monthly, it is pretty clear to me that if we're taking a look at the previous interactions with monthly value, look at this. Same story. Everybody getting really euphoric. Rejected at previous month value high. Oh, it's just going to be a shallow pullback. No, it's not. We're going to go all the way back towards value area low. It's just how it works. We're auctioning within this bracket until proven otherwise, right? So 80K is possible, yeah. And I think in an event where, listen, I'm not going to be bear posting whatsoever right now because I'm an intraday trader, right? I have my alerts set for longer term plays. However, I just get in and out, numerous times a day within the market. So to me, 80K is a level where if I put my crosshair on the charts right now and I put it on the previous year value high, 81 or 82, it is slightly below previous quarterly VWAP. So the best case for me would be if this is indeed bearish and if it's indeed, an intermediate high and we start auctioning lower and we spike into previous quarterly VWAP, I think it overshoots by quite the margin into previous year value area high, and then it's going to be very important to reclaim 85K towards 88K ASAP. And if we do that, I think the low is in and we can expect another rally towards all-time high. But until then, I'm not going to be telling you guys 80K is where we are going. No, I'm not I'm not predicting where the market is going to be going. I'm more of a reaction trader. So I see new data coming into the market. For example, the long that I posted was based on, let's just say previous month VWAP, for example, right? And then I tweeted about it. I took majority off here and then I closed entirely the remainder of the trade there. I think something along those lines. But I'm just reacting to new data. Low is in, high is in, and that's it. I don't really need to be capturing, how do you say that? Home run trades, right? I just continue stacking the lower time frame rotations. So what do you look for an entry trigger? Basically this, right? It's a high volume bar with a point of control at the high. To me, that's an indication of trap buyers here. Once we start closing below, that's often going to be a sign of an actual high. Same story, for example, that we have right here. Everybody extremely bullish. Do you guys see this candle right there? This one, point of control at the high. We are not able to accept back above that point of control because everybody that's offside from buying, they will want to get out around break even, which is adding sell pressure into the market. Okay. That's my personal preference. However, if you are a price action trader, for example, and you like to trade order blocks for that matter, I would even argue that this is the range. So for the people that are following a trader Z, for example, he likes to trade deviations, right? So a swing high towards swing low, range high, range low. This is your range, and then we've got a fair value gap, and then we've got like a bearish order block, like trader main likes to be trading. Like there's numerous possibilities that you can use within your entry techniques. I personally prefer to use a high volume bar, but if you are more familiar with, for example, a bearish order block, fair value gap, or a deviation above the range or below the range, by all means, you should be using what works best for you because of how our patterns, how our brains work, right? For me, it is easy to spot high volume bar as a pattern where I'm like, all right, I've seen this thousands of times. This is going to be a rejection. Everybody has their own preference. So if you prefer to look at order blocks or if you prefer to look at a moving average crossover, by all means, you need to be using where you can, what triggers you the best. How do you say that? Where you can act the quickest on, right? Where your brain instantly tells you like, all right, this is a short, or all right, this is a long, right? No, this indicator is not open. There are other sources available. If you type high volume bar within indicators, there's probably some other resources. But for me, this is more so dedicated to the Discord group that I use. I use order flow, yeah, but that's a topic for a different time. So long-term VWAP, previous. By the way, everybody following along still. If I'm going too quick, let me know. Previous year value area high remains an area of interest for high time frame spot plays around 80k. Previous quarter value area high, sticky point. Not able to accept above so far. Previous month value area high confluent with 10-day composite value low, right? From this 10-day, confluent with 10-day composite value low remains our bearish line in the sand. Always get a lot of questions. What does that mean? I mean, it's not super fancy. Basically, what it means is that the bearish line in the sand for me here is I like to have that on the charts because I know once we definitely start accepting back above the 10-day value area low, my red button is disabled. I'm not going to be shorting this entire way upwards towards the 10-day composite, right? Because if we accept, same story. If this is our value area, right, from the 10-day value area high towards the 10-day value area low, and we accept back within the 10-day composite, what's the destination? It's going to be value area high, right? As per laws of market dynamics. When we accept back within previously established value, we look for a reversion back down here to get long to target the value area high. If you don't have a bearish line in the sand in your market prep, then you will be shorting this all the way towards the destination. And then where it's actually going to be mattering, where you're like, all right, well, I should be shorting here. You've blown all your load, right? Sounds weird, but you know what I mean, right? So yeah, moving forward. Previous month value confluent with 10-day composite remains a bearish line in the sand. Exactly, je kruid verschoten. But is it good to wait for responsive sellers once we enter 10-day composite? It is good. That's good. Any specific reasons on why you do your analysis on a Coinbase chart? Because Coinbase is leading, in my opinion. I've always done it on a Coinbase chart, and I just prefer to use it. Previous month value confluent with 10-day remains a bearish line in the sand. Other than that, if previous month value area high is not reclaimed ASAP, a move towards previous month value area low could be on the cards. Be prepared for that. So, to summarize, not the best reaction here from previous quarter value high after a nice push up from previous month VWAP. Considering the poor lows intraday, right? The ones that we've discussed about here. Considering these poor lows, these right there. Considering the poor lows intraday, I am inclined to think that we might be revisiting them during the overnight session. For longs, I want to see Bitcoin accepting back above the 30-day rolling VWAP, confluent with previous quarter value high. Let's take a look at the rolling VWAPs real quick, right here, because this is just not really a good sign here, to be honest, where we're getting just a fake out like that towards the rolling VWAP. If I were to remove all of the drawings real quick, let's take a look at the H12. The rolling VWAP, I mean, that this is just not looking good, in my opinion, where if we take a look at this chart here, you can see rolling VWAP, like the 30-day rolling VWAP is always a good indication of trend, right? If we retest it and we hold it, boom, there we go, right? Retest and hold, there we go. The moment we fail to hold the support, resistance, right? And then we got this deviation, then we sold off again, back into what? The quarterly, the 90-day rolling VWAP. But now that we're trying to retest it as support before continuation higher, this H12 is just looking like dog shit. So again, I want to put the emphasis here on we need to be closing this within 5 hours, at least above the 30 rolling VWAP, in my opinion. Because if we fail to do so, neglecting price action, neglecting VWAP on the quarterly, monthly, and so on basis, I am inclined to think that if this isn't able to hold the support, the quarterly VWAP's on the cards, right? Around 92. And don't get me started about if we really start shitting lower, right? Let's see how the yearly... Like, do you see the yearly rolling VWAP? Like, this is... I shouldn't be showing you this, by the way. It's just too much. It's too much sauce. But yearly rolling VWAP, bro, that's where you get involved, right? You could backtest that. So yeah, you know, I think based on the rolling VWAP, based on the TPO, based on the quarterly, monthly, and the weekly values, I think it is going to be very important for Bitcoin to let's get rid of all of the drawings real quick. It's going to be very important for Bitcoin to reclaim the this previous quarterly value high and the 8-week value high. 1 hour. Give me a jar with sauce. You got that right, brother. All right. So I think we'll be revisiting during the overnight session. For long as you want to see Bitcoin setting back above 30 rolling VWAP, confirm with previous quarterly value high. If unable, likely more downside towards previous month value area low. In terms of narrative, we can wrap it up. We don't have to type this here. We can wrap it up within the chart like we always do. In terms of narrative, heading into the remainder of the week, I think FOMC on Wednesday is going to be a big one. For longs, in terms of trading, right? Like this was a picture perfect short there, the high volume bar at the high. We've got a continuation high volume bar here, slightly trading below previous quarterly value high. So I would say if the positioning here within this high volume break lower remains interested, if nothing changes fundamentally, like no news driven event whatsoever, this is likely going to be capping upside, and we might be getting something like this before we continue to trade lower towards this poor low. And then I think on a weekly basis, we might be cleaning up the weekly naked value area low at 96.890. Is that going to be a long on its own for me? Might be, but I wouldn't be too comfortable longing it. Now, why is that? It's because we've just rejected at the 10-day composite. We have just failed to reclaim the previous quarterly value. So everything is kind of summing up where it's telling you like, yo, C2, you need to be, it's not the time to be a hero here because the most recent shifts in condition are all bearish, okay? So the trades next week, like the high probable trades, would probably be like if we're forming like some sort of a tree drive structure like that, then I think a previous month value area low, that's a good area to look for higher conviction longs, right? Sure, we might be taking longs here if we form something like this, spike it, and then reclaim it. We form a candle like that while we do it here at the low, and that's a good long for a reversion higher. And then confirmation for me that the low is in is when we sweep this poor low, then reclaim previous quarterly value area high, spend some time and space, try to break back lower, reclaim it once again. At that point, I think it's game on, and we're going to be blasting back towards the 10-day composite value area low. And that's basically it in terms of Bitcoin. Any questions? And don't be shy. There are no stupid questions. Okay, well, if everything is clear, I would like to thank everybody for their time. How long you traded naked price action before shifting to order flow? Bro, I think probably 3 years. I traded an insane amount of naked charts, and it's still to this day, it's still like one of the favorite things that I do. For example, if I take a look at right here, let's get rid of all of the drawings here. What's that, guys? Goddamn. Oh, oh my god. So let's get rid of the drawings. Weekly chart. Reset chart view. Daily. Right here. I mean, nah, daily is looking like ass. I still think that for majority of my trades, I tend to look at H4. Like H4 blocks, H4 breakers. For example, right here, right? Bearish breaker there. You know, a sweep of the low here. Then we push above this bullish breaker here to get long. Like, it's still my bread and butter. I just needed to have... The reason why I don't really like the price action on its own that much is I couldn't really build a narrative around it. And that's when I started to dig more into VWAP, to just because with VWAP, I can break it down on a yearly, quarterly, monthly basis. It just gives me levels to the tick. So for example, the previous month value high at 102.3, 102.3. Let's quickly break that down. 102.3, 102.3. So in confluence with each other, 30-minute time frame, range high, range low there. What do we have? Slightly above range high, fair value gap, right? The fair value gap is what we call the... where only sell side was being delivered here, right? You guys understand that in terms of fair value gap? Right there, this little gap there. And then within that gap, what do we have? We've got a 30-minute bearish order block. So right there. And now what do we have? We've got like, we swept the low, we swept the high. This is your market structure break. We've got another fair value gap here. Fair value gap, fair value gap. We've got a poor low there. We've got a breaker there, bearish breaker right there. So if Bitcoin is bearish, we're probably going to be getting something along those lines, right? Rebalance the sell side inefficiency there, continuation lower. And then if we form an up close candle, sweep low, market structure break higher, bullish breaker, retest, auction higher, right? I can just, bro, I can do this entire day. Elliott Wave Trader. All right, it's time to close the stream. It's time to close the stream. Elliott Wave Trader, bro. Listen, I've tried the Elliott Wave thing as well back in 2016. When, you know, you guys are lucky because right now everybody is pushing good content on Twitter. Well, not all good, but there's some good stuff on Twitter. Back in my day, bro, it was all about Elliott Wave, and you know, don't get me started about that. I didn't take the short. Nope, I didn't take it. Because this is at 14:30. Is this mine time? I'm not sure if this is mine time, but I've got 2 kids that I need to pick up. So this is time with the kids. So I didn't take it myself, but I covered it within the Discord group. That, you know, if there's going to be a high on Bitcoin, let me just show you guys. Let me show you. Can I show you? How do I show you this? I can't show you this, I think, without doxing the entire server. I can't. So you just have to believe me. Right. Yeah, apologies for that. What were things you think is absurd, but many people still do it. I think it is about holding on to your losing trades. Where, you know, what I personally think is absurd that a lot of people still do is charting altcoins on their own. It makes absolutely zero sense to me because Bitcoin will always be leading. I'm seeing so many charts of altcoins, of people longing altcoins, but the moment Bitcoin breaks down, what do you think your favorite altcoin is going to be doing? It's going to be following Bitcoin because it's just higher beta to that, right? So to me, like, that's just Elliott waves. But that's to me like it's good to have like a good understanding of what certain altcoins in terms of strength are doing. For example, if we're taking a look at the index, that you can see like, but that's just the way how I tend to trade altcoins, right? I just want to be able to see, for example, Ray is outperforming here, right? And the rest is the weakest. So if you want to be able to short something that's the weakest, you look for the weakest link within the overall picture. But to me, it doesn't really make sense to be charting altcoins on their own because Bitcoin is leading. And if Bitcoin is leading, let's say that during the overnight session, Bitcoin forms the low. At that point, I'll take a look at the index and I'll be like, all right, well, Ray is performing well, Tao is performing well as well. So those two are likely going to be outperforming. For example, right? I need to be adjusting some symbols within this setting, but you know, just as an example. So yeah, That's one thing where I'm like, yeah, we can quickly go over Ethereum, sure. Let's go get rid of this. So if you really want to have like a proper structure in terms of altcoins, just use VWAP. Let's do Ethereum. Let's do Ethereum here together, okay? It will give you that narrative. So arrow here. Like I'm going to be going way over my time here, but yeah, Ethereum is just fucking pain, bro. But listen, let's do it together, okay? Ethereum. Ethereum is trading back within previous year value. Previous year VWAP is here. So it's basically holding on live support right now. If Ethereum is not able to close above this previous year VWAP ASAP, then what is the likely destination purely based on yearly value? It is going to be 2600, right? Which is the previous year value area low. So Ethereum on a yearly basis isn't looking too good. If we're taking a look at Ethereum on a quarterly basis, would you be bullish when we were trading up here? Let's ignore the fact that we rejected at the previous quarterly value high to the tick, right? But if you were trading up here, you would be like, well, based on quarterly value, this is resistance. So as long as we're not able to accept above previous quarterly value high, we're likely to reverse back towards previous quarterly VWAP, right? Now that we're trading and broke below previous quarterly VWAP for the first time back since these lows, probably going to be resistance. So any pullback back into this level, well, this needs to be reclaimed for me to get long, right? I'm not comfortable longing it down here, even though it might look good based on price action. It's still pretty bearish. Get back above. Sure, we are going to be looking for longs. What's going to be the destination based on quarterly? Value area high, right? Because we're auctioning between these two price points. Monthly. This consolidation. Let's take a look at the H4 chart. This consolidation. Do you see this line here? It's the previous month value area low. Based on the loss of market dynamics, what did I just say? When we accept back below value area low becomes resistance. And, unless we start to trade back above, we can't trade above. Bearish, 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 right? How many retests do you want? We can't reclaim it. So it's dog shit. Right? Weekly chart. Reject weekly chart with value area high, auction lower. I mean, let's take a look at Sol. Same story here. Let's put a narrative on Solana here. The yearly higher time frame support 188. We're not trading there. We're not close. No reason to be looking at it. The quarterly. Previous quarterly value high has proved to be a key contextual level. Sold off into previous quarterly value high, bullish. We saw a nice retracement. So as long as we're trading above, it's pretty good. In this case, we're now starting to fail to hold above. So if you want to be looking for higher time frame swing longs, for example, on Sol, we need to see a reclaim, retest, and then it can go up, sure. But right now it's struggling to reclaim it. So that's a bearish development. The monthly as well. Every time the previous two attempts, it proved to be a great short-term trade for upside. Now, however, we are trying to accept above previous month value high. What is this development? It's bearish because we try to accept back above and we get slammed back down. So if Sol is not able to accept above that previous month value high, what is the next likely destination purely based on monthly value? Previous month VWAP, right? Because we're rotational between these two price points. So it might look difficult at first, but trust me, it's really easy and straight to the point when you're trying to look for trades. You just need to get the hang of using the prep, using everything together, and then making a summary on what you're seeing. So right here, we're seeing numerous things, and it's pretty obvious to me that, do we have some confluence here going on? Let's take a look. Cross previous quarterly VWAP. So previous quarterly VWAP here is confluent with previous month value low. That would be something that I would be putting on my prep, where I'm like, all right, well, should we get there, I might be looking for longs again. However, until we do, my bearish line in the sand is going to be previous quarterly value high confluent with previous month value high. Now that we're forming, and this is where we go back towards price action, right? Now that we're forming an up close candle here, let's say that we take out this low and then we break back above this high. Then this becomes a bullish what? A bullish breaker. And where does it form? At previous month value high, previous quarterly value high. So the story here that is unfolding when we do this and then we go back above the high is that it is telling me that, hey, sellers try to break this lower, but they fail to do so. And if they can close back above this high, it means we have a new shift back above monthly, above quarterly. At that point, pullbacks are for longs and we're going to be targeting the highs, right? So it's not necessarily about, it's mainly a tool to be using in terms of how do I form a narrative around basically any coin that you want to be trading. Because you guys see me doing Bitcoin, but that's mainly because I'm of the impression that Bitcoin is leading. So if you want me to chart your altcoins, I can do that. However, Bitcoin will lead the way. So if Bitcoin tells you like, okay guys, it's over, we're going to be taking a shit back towards the lows, then Bitcoin will do what? Like 3%, for example, but your altcoins will do 10. Because they are just higher beta compared to Bitcoin, right? And yeah, I think let's finish off the recording and the live stream with that. Let me know if that answered your question, though. And I think it's also good for you guys to see that you can actually use it on all of your altcoins, right? Doesn't matter. Sol, Hype, Doge, like whatever you want, right? No surprise that buyers are stepping in here on Dogecoin because what? Previous year value high there, right? Do you see that? 0.3. No surprise. Look, it's not rocket science, right? If you weren't seeing the previous quarterly value high like I do here, you would think like, fuck, why are we rejecting there? Well, it's because it's previous quarterly value high. Well, why are we seeing buyers here? Well, it's because previous year value high, right? Why are we rejecting there? Well, previous month value low. Previous month VWAP, right? Rejected. All right. If you enjoyed the stream, do me a favor. We're with 80 people right now. I need those likes. So give me a like on the stream. I will catch you guys within the next one. And until then, stay safe and I'll see you guys. Peace.